So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to have very important persons today here at Aviation TV Live, and we want to speak about or with Henrik Hololei, Director General for Mobility Transport at European Commission, and Kurt Hofmann. It's your stage today.
Thank you, Sven, and I come directly to our friend Henrik Hololei. Henrik, a busy summer is coming up, busy summer season, and we see already a lot of challenges and problems that ports and some airlines really have dealing with staff shortages as demand is coming back quickly. From your perspective, how is the summer performing so far as airlines are needing this summer for their business?
Well, thank you very much for having me, Kurt. It's good to see you, and it's a pleasure being on this program. And I think that we are going to have a very good summer in principle, because we have experienced already a very strong demand. I think that this is something which is contrary to what some people tend to say when we were in the middle of the COVID crisis, and people said that now with all the Zooms and Teams and what have you, that people are not keen to travel, which was absolute rubbish, because people are made to travel. Traveling is something that makes people who we are. And obviously, when the restrictions were lifted, the demand went skyrocketing, and people are back in flying. They are flying, actually, they are ready to pay more. We have seen a very interesting development, also very strong demand in the sector of premium leisure. And of course, this is something that I think wasn't that much expected. But we should also be very consistent what we are doing. So I just have to say that, because your audience is also German. I find it absolutely appalling what the German government is doing, and also forcing Lufthansa to do, which is to mandate the masks on board of the aircraft, despite of the fact that the European Aviation Safety Agency, as well as the European Center for Disease Control, have both, based on the scientific facts, in the middle of May already issued their new health safety protocol update, which clearly says that masks should not be mandated, but highly recommended. And I agree with that, highly recommended, but definitely not mandated, because why are we sort of adding another sort of inconvenience to the people who are now so happy to come back to traveling? Like I was yesterday, when you travel to Brussels Airlines from Frankfurt, you don't need to wear a mask. When you travel from Tallinn to Frankfurt, you have to wear a mask. So I think that these kind of inconsistencies should not be part of the European aviation recovery. But the recovery is good, and the recovery is particularly strong when it comes to the point-to-point aviation in Europe. And that means, of course, that the flexible carriers like Ryanair, Wizz Air, and EasyJet have showed very strong and very fast recovery. Wizz Air is already about 120%. Ryanair definitely more than 100% compared to 2019. EasyJet getting to the same levels. So this all brings the point that the point-to-point intra-European, very strong demand, very strong recovery. Of course, it is going to take longer when we talk about the hub carriers, and especially which are dependent on the third country markets. Asia, as we know, is very much closed, and there are many challenges for those who are more exposed to the Asian markets. But the good news is that we have a very, very strong demand in the transatlantic market, and maybe we will even have one of the best passenger and flight numbers. There are also new entrants coming to this market, which is good. We are seeing more single-aisle aircrafts crossing the Atlantic. I think this is also good, but we also see that the demand is very high. Partly, it's also explained by the Asian closure, because Europeans who otherwise would have come to Asia are now going to North America, and it actually applies also to the North Americans coming to Europe, because Japan was always a very much like the holiday destinations also for the Americans during the summer, which is now closed. So all this is actually painting a positive picture, but there is also the other side of the recovery, and this is the fact that it has taken by surprise many players of the aviation sector. And I think that you can also in a way blame it on COVID, especially on the Omicron, because I think that was the time when the plans should have been made, which would have meant the preparation for summer 2022. And there are those airports like Helsinki, for example, who started their recruitment programs already then. And then there are those who only realized this spring that, oh, we might have a very strong demand, but it was too late, because it is not that you are hiring somebody working in supermarket, which is also an important job, but you can start your job tomorrow. You don't need to be security vetted. You don't need to have to adhere to the very complicated safety protocols, which is concerning the people who work in the airport. So we have the shortage when it comes to ground handlers, to people who work on the tarmac and service the and help to service the aircraft. I mean, exteriorly. Then you also have, of course, the security personnel, and all this has led to unbelievable queues that we see in some of the European airports. This is totally unacceptable. It is just adding a very negative impact on the people's wish to start traveling again, and they might consider next time whether they will do it. So again, there is no point also to do any finger pointing. What is important is that everybody in the aviation value chain will work together and will also at the same time try to find the solutions. For that reason, I have also called an industry meeting tomorrow, where we will have the airports, the airlines, and other ground handlers and other players to discuss what kind of solutions can we have, what would be the possible ways out, how to address the current situation of the staff shortages, and how to avoid the negative passenger experience. But I also have to underline the fact that there is not going to be any quick fix. It is taking weeks until the recruitments actually will have an impact on the current throughput, and it is extremely important that a lot of very effective steps are taken now in order to avoid spoiling the summer and the very, very good recovery of the travel and tourism by not being able to service the people, because what we see today is people wait for hours and they are going to miss their aircraft. So this is unfortunate, but this is also something which characterizes the strong recovery today, and let's hope that we can be able to fix that soon.
It's possible soon to come to a solution, but I talked to several airline CEOs. They're all very frustrated about, they're also complaining, like what you said, most of the airports was not ready actually now for the demand. So now the high demand is coming closer and closer. We already have seen strong developments. So do you think there is a solution possible for the upcoming high season to improve the quality?
I think that it is possible definitely to improve the quality, but I'm not sure that there is going to be any quick fix that allows us, let's say, from next week or from next 3 weeks to move to a totally new qualitative level. I think we are going to see disruption throughout many European airports this summer in many parts of Europe, but despite of that, we will try to do our utmost. And as I said, we have this industry meeting tomorrow where I have called upon the airports, the airlines, and the ground handlers and others to come together. And I hope that at least together we will be able to find some ways how to mitigate it. I mean, there are certainly some possibilities how to do it, better sequencing of the stuff, because what we have today is also that people are so much afraid, and rightly so, to miss their planes that they come like 5 hours earlier. If they come 5 hours earlier, of course, the problem then is that they're going to congest the lanes, and those who come like 2 hours earlier will not be anymore to be able to make to their aircraft. So, I mean, this kind of sequencing and trying to get and to give better information, I mean, these are small things, but they are important things. And at the same time, of course, there has to be a very strong focus on the recruitment and training, and to make sure that we get these people as fast as possible to work in the airports and to deal with these processes that are currently creating the bottlenecks.
Well, you know, this summer is the summer where all the airlines was hoping for to get money, and it's a busy summer, luckily, but with all the challenges. Do you think this demand in traveling will continue? Are the airlines will be able to expand the season into autumn? And, you know, the winter time is always challenging for the airlines. Do you think the demand is possible to continue in a way?
I think that what we are now seeing is in a way it is like an explosion. So it is really I'd say a huge increase in the demand, and as we just spoke, where there has not been necessarily the most appropriate response. Now, I think the strong demand is going to continue throughout the summer. I think that we see that through the forward booking, but we also probably will be seeing more challenges when it comes to the autumn and winter. I mean, and there are many issues which, of course, will have an effect on that. One thing is, of course, that we also see higher prices. We also see that high inflation, which is eating up people's disposable income. So they have to start prioritizing where to put their money and what kind of services they're going to buy. I think they will still continue to travel, but it also can be something which will impact the intensity of that demand in the autumn. The other element, which is I think very important, is that yes, we are all rejoicing today the fact that the COVID has kind of, if not, well, definitely not disappeared, but it's much less present, and we are also more knowledgeable. But we don't know what is going to happen in the autumn. And I just caution, because there has to be also contingency planning, because many of the experts will also say that it is impossible to predict the behavior of this virus. And the fact that we might have some new waves in the autumn is also possible, and that might also then have an impact on air travel and have an impact also on the measures. So I would say that it is not a normal autumn, meaning that there are certainly some gray clouds, but at the same time, while being cautious, I think that we also should be optimistic, and I believe that we are as an industry as a whole next year definitely back when it comes to the pre-pandemic level of the passengers, and go beyond that, and on the flights we might be getting there even close to the end of this year.
Yeah, 2 years ago, COVID changed everything actually for aviation. We have seen a complete setback, more or less. But now we have the war in the Ukraine, also another challenge for the European aviation, but also for the traffic into Asia, going back, no flights to Russia, no overflights, whatever. So from your perspective, the current impact, and do you believe there could be found any solution soon to use Russian air territory again in the future? My personal experience or feeling is this will take a long time to settle these problems.
Kurt, you are very well informed and knowledgeable when it comes to the aviation sector, and your prediction is, to my mind, absolutely correct. I don't think that we should entertain ourselves with the possibility that there is going to be a change to what we are experiencing today, sometimes in the foreseeable future. This is, as they would say in aviation, this is a long haul, and this is a flight at least to Australia, if I speak in the figure of the speech. So it is going to be a long time, and we don't know also what kind of twists and turns the whole conflict is going to take. The Russian aggression is something that is unheard of. The fact that we are going to see aggression, murders, rapes, civilian targets bombarded in Europe is something that we didn't expect to see after the Second World War, and this is something which just shows the severity and inhumanity of the actions which have been undertaken by the Russian Federation, and to expect that this country can somehow become a normal partner in the foreseeable future is, I think, very much out of the question. But talking about the effects to aviation, the effects have been limited, and much more limited than many would have been expected. But, and there are buts, and I'll come back to that. As market, Russia was a relatively small market for Europe, and vice versa. So there, the impact, as we see already today, with the number of flights and passengers, also as post-recovery, there is not much of an impact. It is such a shame that Ukraine is now out of the markets for civilian aviation, because my prediction would have been that without the Russian aggression, Ukraine would have perhaps been one of the most likely the fastest growing market in Europe this summer. Because when we signed the aviation agreement with Ukraine in October, we saw the next day already significant increase of capacity, significant increase of flights. And even the day before the Russians started bombarding Ukraine and started their aggression, we had Ryanair flying about 50 flights a day, Wizz Air flying about 30 flights a day. And of course, this was supposed to significantly increase for summer. Having said that, nevertheless, it was still rather negligible in the overall picture. So on that perspective, the effects are not big. In case of Ukrainian market, extremely unfortunate what we are experiencing and what we are actually not getting, and the connectivity we could have been providing as other European aviation players. In terms of the overflights, we have not yet the entire impact of this closure because Asian market has been largely closed until now. China will remain closed definitely until the end of this year. So this is a huge market. And of course, when we don't fly to China, then you also don't see the impact as such. Japan is still closed, maybe opening up later this year, well, surely, but when, difficult to predict. Other markets in Asia are fortunately opening up: Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Korea, and this is positive development. But the flight times are longer and particularly impacted, and I'm really feeling very sorry about it because it's a good airline with a good business model and a good service is Finnair. And Finnair, of course, has been benefiting from the Siberian overflights, which allowed them to fly shorter and more efficiently to Asia than today. Of course, they are the most impacted. But they are a very resilient airline. They are also able to quickly see different business models. And of course, the number of passengers they used to have in Helsinki and on board of Finnair is being much lower. But at the same time, they have also now been more aggressive in the North American market and trying to get the compensation in that domain. And like they fly to Japan, those few flights, for example, through the North Pole, and of course the other flights that they fly through the southern route are also a couple of hours longer. So that means more fuel burn, more expenses, and also more emissions. So yes, this is definitely the impact. Some other airlines also who used Siberia for overflying have been impacted, but today the impact has been very, very limited. So I think that we need to be very mindful about that, and also not to paint a too positive scenario. The flights are not going to resume, the overflights are not going to resume, and there are obviously countries whose overflights revenues have dropped, and we need to find ways also how to put together a solidarity mechanism which also allows to compensate this and takes into account the developments and the effects of the war.
Henrik, I could talk with you for hours. There are so many topics to do. What will be, for your perspective, for your business, what you're doing, the biggest challenge now in the next few months?
I think the biggest challenge in the next few months, I think there are two major challenges. One challenge is that how to minimize the negative effects of the fast recovery, how to make sure that the fast recovery and the strong demand is going to be solid, and is something which really is going to benefit the aviation industry, which has suffered so much during the COVID crisis. And we need to come together, also the regulators, also all the different layers in the aviation sector, and try to minimize these kind of disruptions that we also talked about earlier. I think this is very important, and also that we don't make the same mistakes when it comes to the COVID and later on the year. So this is, I think, one. Secondly, is something which is a key for short-term, medium-term, long-term, ultra-long-term, and this is, of course, making aviation more sustainable. Because the emissions are going to be back, the emissions are going to go through the roof and go beyond the 2019 levels. And this is very challenging because becoming sustainable is the license to grow for the aviation sector. And if this is not going to happen, then the aviation sector will also lose a lot, and it will also lose a lot of societal credits that it has, and people might have had second thoughts. So the sector must become sustainable and has to do everything, but at the same time, we know there are no quick fixes. There is not an easy way how to make this sector more sustainable. And that's why, again, we need to come together. We need to bring all the possible tools in order to achieve it, starting from delivering on the single European sky up to the innovation and new zero-emission aircrafts. But that is, of course, for the longer haul. But we need to start today. We need to make sure that we do the right decisions, which also creates the right incentives and creates the right framework. And I'm very happy that last week in the Transport Council found a general approach on the Refuel EU Aviation, the proposal which incentivizes the production and the uptake of the sustainable aviation fuels, which is going to be the most important tool in making aviation carbon neutral in 2050. Now we just need to find a common accord with the Parliament and have this adopted, so that the predictability as well as the forward predictability is guaranteed. The forward planning can start, and also the fuel producers will bring the blended jet fuel blended with sustainable aviation fuels in the market, so that it is going to help to make a difference for the aviation sector. This is definitely something that will continue to be a key priority in the years to come.
So there are a lot of things to discuss next time, Henrik. And
Absolutely.
of course, we support your strategies also further, and we follow this very closely. Looking forward to meet you soon again. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Thank you to our dear friend Henrik Hololei, and Director General for Transport and Mobility of the European Union. And we continue to talk together soon.
Thank you to the speakers here. And I have one more speaker now, and this is Marcel Rivalski. And at the end, he has some words for us for a new event where the aviation experts can meet. Marcel.
Yes, 25 countries, people from 25 countries will be coming to Athens on 1st of July for the next aviation event in Greece. And also a lot of people, a lot of guests from Ukraine will be there. Actually, aviation events teams has been growing since the last month. And yes, we hired some people from Ukraine International Airlines, and also from SkyUp Airlines, which are unfortunately not able to fly these days. So now they are reinforcing the aviation event team. Thank you very much, and see you all in Athens on 1st of July.
Thank you for your words here on Aviation TV Live.